Jesse, so you're about to go see the country?
Yep, I am finally seeing real America.
It's about time.
It is, isn't it?
Are you going to Paducah? Paducah is the most real American place you can go.
Where's Paducah?
You don't even know where it is. You don't even fucking know.
Let me Google it.
At least we have one.
Oh, Paducah, Kentucky. It looks beautiful. That downtown, right on the river, the Ohio River.
Yeah, it's quite nice. I do believe it floods.
The National Quilt Museum?
Obviously. What other Paducah? Jesus Christ.
I will not be in Paducah, but as of when people hear this, my Austin event with Katie, off the top of your head, who am I doing the Austin event with?
Easy. Connor Friedersdorf, number one.
Yep. Well, no, he's not number one. We're all equal.
Yes.
Although some are more equal than others.
Number one because you continually forget him. Sorry, Connor. I would never. You're doing Connor Friedersdorf, Megan McArdle.
The big man.
Very tall. Is Megan the big? Yeah, okay. Very tall.
Connor's the big man.
Lee Stein.
Yep.
Kat Rosenfield, and I'm putting River Page last because he's a baby.
He's very young. Yes, this event will have gone wonderfully, but yeah, I have a little bit of time. I'm going to go to West Texas and just drive around until something bad happens to me, I guess. I'm really excited for it.
Listen for the rattle.
Oh, shit, maybe I should I forgot there's actual rattlesnakes there. This is how prepared I am. But yeah, I think I'm doing some combination of, I know I'm doing San Antonio, and then I think Marfa and El Paso. And my sense is Marfa is just this artsy little town, like in the desert.
Yeah, it's just one empty Prada in the middle of nowhere.
I'm just going to go to the Prada, take a picture, and then move on. I'm not going to see any of Marfa itself. And then El Paso, this does get to the sort of elitist flyover country thing. It's a large city that's right on the border and shares a border with Ciudad Juarez, and it looks like a really interesting place. I'm excited to go there, and I'm sure we have millions of listeners in all these places.
I've never been to the nice parts of El Paso, but I've driven through it a bunch of times on my cross-country trips. And when you're driving on, I think it's I-10, it's like if you're headed west, it's like on the right side, you have the perfect encapsulation of the worst parts of America. It's like Ross Dress for Less, TGI Fridays, Ross Dress for Less, Kmart, Ross Dress for Less. And on the left side, the Mexican side, it's slums. It's like cheap goods on one side and abject poverty on the other side. It's very stark. But I'm sure Old Town's very nice.
Katie, you yourself are traversing this great nation of ours, right?
Not quite yet, but I will be soon. I am once again driving across the country. I'm heading back to Washington State. We will not be hopefully taking the southern route unless it snows up north. But the good thing is that there's been insane drought all across the West. It's like the worst ski season in Colorado, Utah, everywhere ever, which is terrible. But the good news for me is that I might actually be able to take the most efficient route across the country. And then after this, I hope to be done. We're selling the Asheville house. Our great experiment with bi-coastal living will end. I just word to the wise for people thinking about doing this. Do not buy a home 3,000 miles from where you live if you have a large dog. I know everybody's thinking about it right now, but just don't do it. It's not a good idea.
My finger was over the buy button. I had two buttons, one to buy a large dog and one to buy a home 3,000 miles away. Now I'm not going to do it. Thank you for the feedback.
Get one or the other, but not both. It's really hard to do. So we're selling the Asheville house. We will be single coastal elites. And so this is hopefully the last drive. And I hope that I survive it. I have a feeling I won't, but I hope that I will.
Well, I also hope you survive it, Katie. And I mean that.
Thank you, Jesse.
Speaking of coastal elitists, today's story is about... Actually, I only know one of the two is technically coastal elitist, but...
They both are.
We should get into it. Okay.
Yes.
I forgot. Okay, anyway, continue.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about two of the most ubiquitous, aggravating, and inexplicably successful characters in the streaming world today. That is Hasan Piker and Ethan Klein. But before we get to that, we have an update to a story we've mentioned a few times out of the University of Washington. So that story is about Stuart Regis. He's an untenured computer science instructor at UW. He's a bit of a shit stirrer. I first came across him in 2018 when he wrote a piece in Quillette called Why Women Don't Code. This was a defense of James Damore.
Someone who would write an article with that headline in 2018, I almost just want to defend them on principle just because it's so...
oh, yeah.
don't get me wrong, I think he's a monster, but it's very brave.
Yeah, 2018, you can say that in 2025. Actually, you can say why bitches don't code. It's fine. Why
bitches don't be coding.
But at the time in Seattle, especially in 2018, even publishing in Quillette was sort of the mark of the beast. And James Damore, for anyone who doesn't remember, I think he was an engineer. He probably wasn't a project manager. He was fired from Google for arguing that the reason there aren't more women in tech isn't because of discrimination, but because women are just less interested in tech. Basically,
well, he said it was a
but basically the argument is that males tend to be more interested in things and females tend to be more interested in people.
I feel like that's true of our dynamic, except the opposite. No, it's true. You like Moose. Moose is a thing.
You think he's a thing?
You like your household, which is a thing. I like meeting
Barbies.
Our listeners, which are I like playing with dolls.
Yes, I like trucks.
Get mad at people. You do like trucks.
Well, my first car was a truck. It was a giant F-150, a giant brown F-150. Yeah.
The first thing you did when you had money from the podcast was buy like a beat up
van.
You definitely have a male gender identity, but
all right. So read this. I want you to read this passage from Stuart's Quillette article.
Ever since Google fired James Damore for, quote, advancing harmful gender stereotypes in our workplace, end quote, those of us working in tech have been trying to figure out what we can and cannot say on the subject of diversity. You might imagine that a university would be more open to discussing his ideas, but my experience suggests otherwise. For the last 10 months, I've been discussing this issue at the Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering where I work. I've tried to understand why Damore's opinions generated such anger and have struggled to decide what I want to do in response. As a result of my attempts to discuss this, our mailing list known as Diversity Allies is now a moderated list to prevent nuanced and potentially hurtful discussion. That's a quote. Instead, I have been encouraged to participate in face-to-face meetings that have often been tense, but which have helped me to understand where others are coming from.
So his piece wasn't just like, Damore is right, women have girl brains, they like baby dolls, men like tractors. It was about the difficulty of speaking on this issue. And you can hear like Stuart, he did these face-to-face meetings. He said it helped me understand where others are coming from. It seems to me like he was like good faith trying to engage in people who disagreed with him. And this was, I think, much harder to do in 2018 than it is now. So he also writes, when I tried to discuss Damore at my school, I found it almost impossible. As a thought experiment, I asked how we could make someone like Damore feel welcome in our community. The pushback was intense. My question was labeled an inflammatory example, and my comments were described as hurtful to women. When I mentioned that perhaps we could invite Damore to speak at UW, a faculty member responded, if he comes here, we'll hurt him. She was joking, but the sentiment was clear. He also writes in the piece that even with equity agendas and whatever attempts to reach gender parity, probably the most you'd ever see in women in tech is 20%. He also included some stats on who gets computer science degrees in Iceland, Finland, and Norway, which rank the highest in terms of gender equality. And female computer science graduates in those countries, it's generally less than 20%. And I should say, Stuart does not strike me as like a good old boy. I know him a little bit. I went to one of his classes, and he comes across to me as someone who really does care about his students, but is predisposed to poking the bear. So Stuart was really ostracized for his opinions and for that article. And the article was a big deal in Seattle. So I wrote about it for The Stranger. The Seattle Times covered it. The computer science department disavowed the piece. Students and faculty demanded that he be fired. Some students started a petition. And I read one of the testimonials from a former student of his. And there was this inadvertently hilarious line where the student complained that in his intro to computer science course, Stuart used a metaphor from Star Trek. And she said that this was discriminatory because women aren't interested in Star Trek.
Right.
She made his point for him. Anyway, he wasn't fired, but he was demoted. He was placed on probation for a year. And Stuart is obviously not a guy who is afraid to court controversy. So a couple years later, when instructors were encouraged to add land acknowledgements to their syllabi, not required, but encouraged, Stuart decided to craft his own land acknowledgement. So before he did this, he wrote the faculty listserv saying he was going to do it, and he asked for input. No one responded. It seems as though his colleagues have decided that the best way to handle Stuart is to ignore him. So he decided he would write his own land acknowledgement on his own. This is what it said. I acknowledge that by the labor theory of property, the Coast Salish people can claim historical ownership of almost none of the land currently occupied by the University of Washington. Jesse, do you get that?
Yes, but you should explain to the people who aren't as smart as me.
Okay, so the labor theory of property is basically he who works the land owns the land. This is a principle that comes from John Locke. And Stuart actually looked into the university archives and he found that the land where the university stood was cleared by the university, not by the Native Americans who had lived in the area. So in his thinking, they never owned the land at all. This is obviously not how land ownership works in the US. Thank God for that. I think he was part trolling and part making a point. But when students noticed this, they complained. The Allen School, so that's where he works, they responded to one student on Twitter saying, "We became aware of this offensive statement a few hours ago. We're horrified by it and are working on getting it removed from the syllabus. Meanwhile, we have removed the document from the course website." Again, he told the faculty listserv he was going to do this. Everyone ignored him. Then the dean contacted him and asked him to remove it himself. Stuart argued that if other faculty were allowed to make political statements, then he should be allowed to as well. And so the dean then had the IT staff remove the syllabus from the university website and replace it with this: "No, the course syllabus has been temporarily removed due to offensive statements. We apologize for the inconvenience."
So it was so harmful that I had to get the IT staff to remove it.
Yes, I am curious what percentage of the IT staff were male versus female. So the school launched an investigation. They announced they were opening a new section of the class with a different professor, and students could transfer into that if they wanted to. And then later that year, Stuart partnered with FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, to sue the University of Washington and various administrators. He claimed that he was punished, that other faculty who did like the standard land acknowledgement, they were not punished. And so this was a retaliation for his protected speech and therefore unconstitutional. And the case has been working its way through the courts. So last year, a district court ruled in favor of UW. The judge said that Stuart's land acknowledgement was disruptive, but he and FIRE appealed. And last month he won when the Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in Seattle decided in his favor. A circuit judge said, "Debate and disagreement are hallmarks of higher education. Student discomfort with the professor's views can prompt discussion and disapproval, but this discomfort is not grounds for the university retaliating against the professor. We hold that this university's actions toward the professor violated his First Amendment rights." So that's your update. Congratulations to Stuart and FIRE. I'm sure he is even more popular in Seattle.
It's a great time for freedom in America. It's just spreading like wildfire.
Okay, on to the main event. As promised, we are going to be discussing the protracted uncivil war between Hasan Piker and Ethan Klein. Now, both of these characters have come up before, but today we're going to go deep. These are two former friends and collaborators who have been at war with each other since October 7th, 2023, and this conflict has split into some very messy, bizarre side plots. Just for the sake of keeping this to one or possibly two episodes, we might have to break this up. We're going to mostly focus on Piker and Klein themselves, but this is really a sprawling web of YouTube and streamer drama. Lots of breakups in content land. It's very reality TV. Okay, so Jesse, our audience is probably more familiar with Hasan Piker than Ethan Klein. We have mentioned him quite a bit. Not obsessed. We are not obsessed with him. Does he think we're obsessed with him? Because we're not obsessed with him.
Definitely not.
We did a segment on his interview with a Houthi pirate, or maybe a teenager LARPing as a Houthi pirate. If you'll recall, they bonded over a shared love of anime and terrorism. We also discussed dog collar gate. This was when Piker was accused of using a shock collar on his dog on camera. I consider that matter unsettled. Yes, he may think America deserved 9/11, but shocking a dog on camera, no one is that sick. So Piker is 34 years old, born in New Jersey, raised in Istanbul. He's often referred to as a Nepo baby, but that's unfair. His parents are academics, apparently fairly notable ones. His father is an economist who founded a conservative political party in Turkey. His mother is an art historian. He's not a Nepo baby, he's a Nepo nephew. His uncle is Cenk Uygur, founder of the Young Turks Network. This is this progressive TV network on both YouTube and on TV. But TV, I think that makes it sound bigger than it is. Like, do you have a TV, like an actual physical TV?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a TV these days, you might have noticed that TV has channels entirely dedicated to like Young Sheldon and season 2 of Kim's Convenience. Have you noticed this? Entire channels.
I thought the Young Turks had become a pretty big business, and that's how they got the TV deal.
I mean, what I'm saying is that everybody's on fucking TV now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Except for us.
Except for us. Hey, we are moving to YouTube. We are. This very episode might be on YouTube. If you are interested in seeing our faces, do not go to YouTube expecting them, because it's not going to be any camera stuff, camera work, video itself. It's just going to be a waveform. This is our way of pivoting to video, is just pivoting. It's just putting our shit on YouTube without video.
It's going to be very effective, I'm sure. I'm excited for this.
A new era in Blocked and Reported, the very, very half pivot to video. Anyway, Young Turks is leftist, it's populist, there's lots of yelling. And that's where Hasan Piker got his start. So he started as an intern at TYT, and then after college, he got a job in the marketing department, and he occasionally filled in on air, and he clearly showed some talent, and he later got his own series on the network. And then in 2018, while he was still at TYT, he started streaming on Twitch, and that's where his career really took off. So Jesse, explain Twitch to our geriatric listeners and also Jana.
I mean, it's a platform that was originally designed to allow people to stream their video game achievements, but it has since evolved into something much bigger, and a lot of the content on Twitch is just people talking about politics or current events or whatever else. But there's what appears to be a very healthy market for political streaming, although it's often more political screaming.
Ooh, that was good. So that's where Piker is huge on Twitch. He has 3 million followers there. He's also got 1.8 million on YouTube, 1.7 on X, 1.6 on Instagram, and he streams for 8 hours a day every single day. And this is not like working in the coal mines or anything like that, but I have to say, as much as I do not admire his politics, I think that talking for 8 hours a day does show some strong work ethic. I barely breathe for 8 hours a day. And here's this guy talking to himself for a full shift. Maybe he did shock his dog, because that is psychotic. Jesse, have you watched much of his stuff?
No, I don't want to blow my brains out, so I try to stay away from it.
So
no, I mean, I've seen a lot. I find him, so even by the standards of the sorts of people who become political streamers, so off-putting. The sort of like, I don't know. I mean, you'll tell me more. It's not for me. I sort of understand why like a certain type of male would respond to it, like this very sort of beefy masculine energy, but it's just like it's kind of a lot, is in my experience.
Do you see the appeal to a certain kind of female?
I do. I mean, he's a good-looking, jacked guy, as he will be the first to post on Instagram. So yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So Piker is generally considered a political streamer, but because he streams for so long, he talks about kind of anything that crosses his mind. So let's just, as an experiment, let's go to his Twitch page right now and see what he's talking about right this second.
He's like,
God, I always forget
save the Iranian people.
Just the sheer on-screen chaos of like, all the people. I'm so old.
It's a lot of text on the screen.
Go back to F-word son. I fucked your mom, chatter. It was the greatest orgasm she's ever had in her entire life. Holy fuck. Fucked your dad too. Destroyed his G-spot. Fucked him right in his ass, dude. He's loved it too.
Okay, this is Katie. I don't know if I could do this much longer.
Okay,
I know we just logged in. There's almost 39,000 people concurrently. Okay, I had to turn it off. I couldn't. I tried. All
right, so that is a taste of Hasan Piker's daily live stream. Scintillating content. I'm scintillated. Are you scintillated?
I'm beyond scintillated. That was great. I'm really glad I got to do that.
Well, you don't have to stop here, Jesse. He does this 8 hours a day, every single day, and he apparently makes quite a lot of money doing this. I don't really understand the Twitch economy, but I would feel very confident in guessing that he makes well over $1 million a year, like well over $1 million a year. And if you're wondering how he manages to use the bathroom while he's doing this for 8 hours a day, the answer is he just pisses all over himself. It's true. No diaper, no catheter, just whiz. It's strange, but people like it.
Should we do we have an estimate of what he makes per year?
If you Google it, you will find a bunch of different estimates. These are just guesses. Like you can Google yourself and net worth, and it will come up with something completely bizarre and not at all connected to reality. But in 2021, there was a hack of Twitch. And I'm reading from the Washington Post here. Hasan Piker, a popular leftist news pundit, was trending on Twitter Wednesday as a result of his pay, around 2.8 million since 2019. That was 2021. So at that point, he was making a lot of money. He's much more popular now. So I don't know what the number is, but I know it's high. And he's just apparently very good at talking a lot. People love his commentary. And as you mentioned, he's also got something else going on for him, and that's that he is attractive. And I do not think it should be underestimated as a key to his success. So let's read from this recent Guardian article about him. Jesse, will you read this paragraph?
To his enemies, there is plenty to dislike: his outspoken political views, his Turkish Muslim background, his allegiances with progressive politicians such as Zoran Mamdani. Can I just say, the list... okay, I have a comment after I finish reading this.
No, give it to us.
It's thrown in. There's among the top two reasons, first two mentioned reasons to dislike him, his Turkish Muslim background. What percentage of people in 2025, 2026, is that why they dislike him? Because he's a
the
Turk?
Armenians.
He's an American. I mean, anyway, his allegiances with progressive politicians such as Zoran Mamdani, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Ilhan Omar, all of whom appeared on the show, but they also hate the fact that Piker, tall, muscular, fashionable, and handsome, is far too alpha to fit lefty stereotypes. He has not been...
That's it.
He has not...
That's why they hate him. He's too hot.
He has not been afraid to leverage his henchness in shirtless... Is that a Britishism?
Maybe.
In shirtless, sometimes even trouserless magazine photoshops or selfies on his socials, generating articles such as 30 sexy pics of Hasan Piker that prove the only thing that is hotter than his takes is his bod. Jesus Christ.
I get the feeling that this author has wallpapered his home with the 30 sexy pics of Hasan Piker.
Sounds like it, yeah.
So this sort of fawning profile of Hasan Piker is very common, particularly in the last year or so. You know, after the 2024 election, there was all this talk about finding the Joe Rogan of the left, someone who could help Democrats attract young men back from MAGA. And there was this wave of coverage of Piker from the mainstream and liberal press, like, he's the guy, he'll save us. But Hasan Piker was never going to be the young white male whisperer for the Dems because Hasan Piker is not a Democrat. He seems to hate Democrats as much, if not more, than he hates Donald Trump.
Well...
Yeah, go
but
on.
There's like a lot of the conservative, a lot of the podcasters people associate with getting young people to vote for Trump are not Republicans per se either.
Yeah,
they just sort of nudge.
That's true, but Joe Rogan, he explicitly endorsed Donald Trump. He said he was voting for Donald Trump. Piker definitely didn't do that for Kamala Harris. And in fact, he said things like trans people would not be safer under a Harris presidency. He's not a Democrat. He doesn't like Democrats. I think you could argue that he could be a young male whisperer for like the DSA or for candidates like Mondami or Ilhan Omar or AOC, but the Democratic establishment, no.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I'm just saying, like, I mean, and part of this is I think stupidity of being like, we need to find the left-wing equivalent of Joe Rogan just because Rogan's his own thing. And Rogan is just not as straightforwardly ideological as people think, even if he did at one point endorse Trump.
Yeah, and so Piker, he used to call himself a democratic socialist, you know, in the mold of Bernie Sanders, but he is very clearly at this point not that. He's a communist. He would like to see wealth seized from the rich and redistributed to the poor. He also lives in a big, you know, expensive house in California, so I assume he'll be opening that up for his tiki torch welding comrades at some point. The guy, he's not opposed to a little cultural revolution, and he has said that the best model for governance is China. So here's a clip of Piker on the Trigonometry podcast. You're going to hear host Konstantin Kisin first.
You said something interesting because, you know, I was born in the Soviet Union, so we both have direct experience of socialism in various shapes and forms. You talked about, well, there's positives and there's negatives. So is there a country that's done socialism the way that you like?
I would say that I am hypercritical of all forms of governance, including the American one. I think that's not a surprise to you guys, right? And in that same vein, I think like there is critiques to apply to all forms of governance, even socialist ones.
Yeah.
And as far as like getting closer to what I think has been relatively successful, because if ultimately the point of government is to improve the material conditions of all people, to the best of your ability. It's not always going to be perfect, but when you are getting, I don't know, the poorest people, the poorest of the dispossessed masses out of a situation where they were servile, the landed gentry, or they were peasants from an agrarian society, or they were dominated by their landlords, but then ultimately they were able to to come into modernity and become like a powerhouse, an industrial powerhouse that is competitive with the largest superpower on the planet. I would say if that's the point of good governance, and I think you guys might agree with me on that, I would say China is probably the closest.
That is a super interesting take. China as a model for good governance. Good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. On another note, have you ever heard Konstantine's co-host speak? I think he might actually be mute. It's very odd.
Might be like a Penn and Teller type deal.
So I haven't listened to the entire episode. So it's possible that Piker mentioned, the imprisonment of minority groups like the Uyghurs, the police state, mass surveillance, the suppression of Tibet and Hong Kong, the lack of free press, etc. But he seems to have a real infatuation with China. He actually traveled to China recently. He has some very nice things to say about the place, including that it's gay as hell. Did you see this one, Jesse?
I saw when he was there. I didn't see him say it was gay as hell.
Okay, so this is a stream he did while in China, and one of his viewers was like, wait a second, you're an ally. Isn't China bad for gay people? And Piker said this.
Why China block gay dating apps? I don't think that's true. I think you saw that on Twitter. I don't know if that's true. Chatter, this is exactly what I mean. If you get your notes from Twitter, which by the way, like you'll see, we're about to go to Chengdu. What's really funny about this is like China's gay as hell. Like just watch the stream and you will see. Like Austin's been on the apps. That's so funny. There is it's true. Apple removes Chinese gay dating apps on government order. Okay, but that's Apple.
So a very cursory exploration, and by that I mean Google, of China and homosexuality shows that China is indeed a very homophobic place, and this includes coming from the federal government. So gay marriage is not legal, which it's not legal a lot of places. Okay. Still kind of new. We'll forgive them for that. But let me read you from this NBC News piece. Homosexuality has become one of the biggest subjects of censorship in China and the target of a recent government crackdown, even though surveys say the public is increasingly supportive of LGBTQ people. In September, the U.S. movie Together that featured a same-sex wedding scene was digitally altered to turn one of the two men into a woman for early screenings in mainland China. So gay as hell, but also you can show gay people on TV, and good luck getting the dating apps.
Logic.
Yeah. Did you see what happened when he went to Tiananmen Square?
I did not.
So I thought you were online. Have you gotten a life that I don't know about?
I tried. I just like Hasan. I'm glad. I'm glad I'm learning about Hasan, but I don't seek out the content, to be honest. Although it seems to be everywhere.
I don't seek it out. It seeks me out.
Well, what did he do? What did he do in Tiananmen Square?
Okay, so this clip is mostly in Chinese, so we won't play it. But he was streaming from Tiananmen Square, and someone in his group showed a meme on his phone of Chairman Mao with Hasan's face on it, like showed this to the camera. They were stopped by state security and had to hand over their phones for inspection. And Hasan was apparently fine with this. And last year he was stopped by immigration when returning to the U.S. from Europe. He was questioned for a couple of hours. They took his phone away. This is wrong. He's an American citizen. And Hasan was rightfully outraged, but he's completely blasé about human rights abuses in China or Russia because communism good or whatever. I've just got one more clip for you from Hasan's stream. I think this one really sums up his worldview.
When you look at a situation in the Middle East, you look at what the local government is and who the Western forces are. Never align with the Western forces. So when I look at other countries, I look at the regional actor, whoever the regional power player is, and then I look at who is backed by the Western superpowers. That's a principle that you could take home with you. If you want to actually be moral, or if you want to be smart about the way you analyze other countries, that's one basic principle that you can take home with you. All of a sudden, magically, you are above on your foreign policy analysis. You're going to be better off than 90% of people that look at the situation.
Yeah, this is a classic thing among a certain type of pseudo-intellectual where, he's just saying it out loud. You literally, whoever the West backs, you're against him. And this led people to support has led people to support like truly heinous, murderous regimes over the years because they're happen to be opposed to the U.S. So, how did he respond after we did our super legal operation in Venezuela?
And a lot of those Venezuelans, some of them are going to be in the chat today, are going to fucking talk like this is a fantastic moment and Trump is a great liberator. Bitch, he's saying you're a rapist, okay? I need you to understand this if you are a fucking Venezuelan expat. If you are a Venezuelan refugee living in the United States of America, understand something. He is saying you're a rapist, drug dealer that will get sent to fucking CCOT, okay? It doesn't matter whether you like Maduro or whether you hate the Chavistas or whatever the fuck, okay? He will use you like a pawn. Okay, you're like a cum rag.
I mean, he's not wrong, but he's sort of doing that thing where like everything's about America and Trump. Like Venezuelans in Venezuela. It's hard to. He's obviously right that from Trump's point of view, if you don't have the correct legal status, you're at the same risk, whatever you think. But I think he's maybe missing the point a little bit. But this is probably the issue where it's easiest for Hasan Piker to be right because what we did was so crazy.
Yeah, I'm kind of with him on this one. I mean, I understand Venezuelans celebrating, and I do hope for the best for them. I'm extremely skeptical of Trump's motives and his actions. No legal scholar here, but kidnapping the sitting president of a nation and extraditing him to the U.S. when he has not attacked this country seems illegal to me. Seems like an act of war, not congressional approved, but I'm not a legal scholar. I also, when he says that Trump will use Venezuelans as a cum rag, it's a little racy. And Trump doesn't strike me as a big gooner. It's too messy. But I did sort of find myself nodding along with this one, unfortunately. Anyway, that's Hasan Piker, CCP enthusiast, alleged dog shocker, beefcake. Now, Jesse, enter Ethan Klein. So how much do you know about Ethan Klein?
I mostly know that they got in a fight about a certain people's certain homeland, but no, fill me in on Ethan Klein.
Whose homeland, Jesse?
Depends who you ask.
All right, so Ethan Klein's company is called H3 Productions. That's old internet slang for hee. And he runs the company with his wife, Ela Klein. H3 has 5.5 million subscribers on YouTube. He does have way fewer followers on Twitch than Piker, just 500,000 to Piker's 3 million. But Klein has 2 million followers on X, 1.6 on Instagram. So he's also very popular. Now, I'm just going to be frank here. I don't really like Hasan Piker. I think he's an extremist, but I can see why people follow him. He's hot. And he blames all of the world's woes on Western imperialism and late capitalism. It's a very tidy narrative. I can sort of see the appeal if you're like, you went to college and now your only job is at Starbucks and you hate your boss. You come home from a hard day standing on your feet making lattes, and there's Hasan Piker telling you that the key to all of your problems is Jeff Bezos. I kind of get it, even if I don't agree. But Klein, I don't get the appeal. He has a very strange physical affect. It's not really his fault. He has Tourette's, and he has these pretty intense twitches and tics that do seem to be exacerbated when he's wound up, which is often. But he has a lot of followers, and he's been around for a long time. So he started out making like funny reaction videos on YouTube in 2011. Reaction videos have been a staple of YouTube for years. They have evolved over time. So back in the day, a reaction video didn't usually contain any of the source material. I guess like downloading and clipping technology has evolved since then, but reaction videos in the beginning would just be a face of someone watching a video. So the classic examples are reaction videos for Two Girls, One Cup. Do you remember that?
Oh, God, yeah.
Did you ever watch it?
I think when I was like a wee lad, yeah.
Should we do it on camera?
No, that's okay.
I've never seen it. Anyway, it was all very meta. So like the reaction video.
That should be the only video we post on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's just waveforms, and then it cuts to that, and then back to the waveforms.
We might go viral for that. We might. So back in the day, the reaction video, it would only kind of make sense if you know that Two Girls, One Cup is not about sharing a soda, right? Ethan Klein's reaction videos were slightly different because Ela, his wife, would be like filming him watching something on his computer. So she pans from the computer screen to his reaction to it. I watched so many of these fucking videos to try to find one that was even mildly interesting. I failed. These videos are so bad. I mean, they're 15 years old, so our tastes change. But these videos have millions of views. So here was the best of the many dozens of early Ethan Klein videos I watched for you, Jesse. This one is called How to Clean Your Gamer Gear, H3H3 reaction clip.
You want to know a dirty little secret? Yeah, huh? Do you? Do you? You're not going to get there if your gear's all crapped up with gamer gunk, dust, chip dip, greasy, sticky, slimy game residue.
Oh, your keyboard isn't fucking full of chip dip and covered in splooge? Oh, well, you're not a real gamer.
Okay, now Ethan is
dust, chip dip, greasy,
okay.
sticky,
Ethan
slimy
covered his
game
whole
residue.
keyboard with queso and Doritos. These are Call of Duty
It's a fact.
branded Doritos, in case you're
Comic
wondering.
Sans warning.
So it's just a grotesque scene of Ethan
It's a fact.
just basically like rubbing queso all over his keyboard, and I guess from a certain point of view, it's funny.
I'm lolling right
Well,
now.
that's the idea. This does have 12 million views from 10 years ago.
So maybe we should recreate that for our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just you covered in queso. That actually might do pretty well. So Ethan Klein did these sort of bad comedy and reaction videos before gradually pivoting to politics. And Klein, like Piker, has had some controversies of his own. Actually, quite a few controversies. So we're going to get to the latest ones in detail later. But there's one I wanted to mention up top. So in 2016, a YouTuber named Matt Hosenzada filed a lawsuit against H3H3, Klein's production company, in response to a video they made using clips of his video. So they were making fun of him. Standard reaction video. YouTuber Matt's lawyer said that Ethan and Hila took 70% of Matt's video while, quote, contributing nothing substantive to it. And this is really the question that defines fair use. If you adequately transform content, whether that's video or audio clips or art or whatever, it's legal to reproduce and sometimes even sell it, which is how Weird Al Yankovic isn't in copyright prison right now. Eat It, obviously.
Well, he also gets permission.
Oh, does he? Well, that would also help. So Eat It obviously copies Beat It, but it also transformed the content enough to make it fair use. Plus, parody is generally protected by courts.
Okay, this is important, Katie. I looked on the frequently asked questions of the Weird Al page. Weird Al believes, quote, Al does get permission from the original writers of the songs that he parodies. While the law supports his ability to parody without permission, he feels it's important to maintain the relationships that he's built with artists and writers over the years. Okay.
Nice guy.
He is a very nice guy.
So yes, but he doesn't have to. Parody is protected by the courts. But there is some interesting legal gray area when it comes to fair use. So, for example, in the early 80s, Polo, the clothing company, sued a company called, do you remember Mad Dog?
I don't.
You were probably more of a Big Johnson guy.
I don't remember what I was. I don't remember my childhood at all. It's just I blacked out.
So Mad Dog just made the coolest t-shirts in 1996. And they made a spoof shirt with a horse logo in the style of the Polo logo. The horse was dragging a polo player behind it. Polo sued, and Mad Dog argued that it was parody. They eventually settled out of court. Mad Dog was also sued by Lacoste, by the way. They also settled, and they stopped selling the shirts. None of this is relevant to our story, but the point is, parody can get you sued. It is legally protected, but you can get sued. And oftentimes, as we learned last year, getting sued for something that you can probably win is still a giant pain in the ass.
Well, but also it is like different in this age where anyone can take anyone else's video and then publish huge portions of it and respond to. I do think that's substantively different than like Eat It.
A parody. Yes, it is different than parody. Anyway, this YouTuber suit against Ethan Klein was filed in 2016. Another YouTuber set up a GoFundMe for the Kleins, and they raised over $170,000 to pay their legal fees. As you will hear, I do not think there would be a six-figure fundraiser for the Kleins today, but at the time, H3H3 was one of the more beloved YouTube channels. They had more friends than they do now. And after the success of the GoFundMe, the Kleins announced that the money from the fundraiser was going to a fund they were establishing called the Fair Use Protection Account, or FUPA, of course.
Nice.
And they would use the fund to help other content creators who were being sued for copyright violations, which sounds great. Yeah. Well, the only creators the fund actually ended up supporting were the Kleins because their own legal fees exceeded the $170,000.
That's not surprising. I mean, that's like a very normal amount. And luckily we have not had to actually engage in legal shenanigans, but like that.
Lawyers are expensive.
Anyone who's like, if you are maybe headed down that road, anyone will tell you it could easily get into six figures.
And So there was a little bit of backlash at the time that they didn't actually use the FUPA fund for anyone but themselves. But at the time, the Kleins were well liked, and the fundraiser had been set up to support them. So no real scandal there.
Who won the case?
The Kleins did, and this was one of the first federal court rulings to explicitly recognize reaction videos as transformative under U.S. copyright law. And had it gone the other way, it's hard to imagine YouTube or TikTok or Twitch existing as it does today because so much of the content on those platforms are reaction videos. I'm not saying that this would have killed YouTube, but it would have killed the reaction video. And that case is widely cited as this landmark case for YouTube creators. This will come back, so remember this.
Okay.
So I first heard of Ethan Klein in probably like 2022. And the reason I heard of him then was because of Jordan Peterson. So Klein had Peterson on his show twice, his YouTube show, in 2017 and 2018. And then in 2022, he deleted those episodes and he tweeted this. Years ago, I interviewed Jordan Peterson before I was very familiar with his politics. He was an interesting guest who I enjoyed sitting with, but especially now, I can see he's a dangerous gateway to alt-right, transphobia, and COVID misinfo. I removed both interviews today.
That's really pathetic.
Yeah. Do you think that's a fair assessment of Jordan Peterson?
It depends which Jordan Peterson and when. I think a lot of Jordan Peterson is like just normal clean your room stuff, but he's absolutely become a bit of a conspiracy theorist and a little bit crazy.
Yeah, he has. I think he needs some fiber or a vegetable.
He should eat one vegetable and then he would just go back to normal, I bet.
Yeah. So Klein has since deleted that tweet, but at the time, this became somewhat of a story. And look, Jordan Peterson has fully gone off the deep end. Maybe he always was off the deep end. But if you talk to his supporters, or in some cases former supporters, this theme emerges, and that's that Jordan Peterson was actually their gateway out of the alt-right. That might not be as true today as it was a few years ago. I really don't know how much of a following he has anymore.
I mean, but it sort of doesn't matter. The point is taking down an interview you did with a guy is it's just a pathetic, weak ass move. Like, I don't know. I mean, to me, like, I get what you're saying. It can go either way and there's controversy over that, but it doesn't. Let's say Jordan Peterson was a gateway to the alt-right. It would still be interesting and worthwhile that you had interviewed him, and just to keep that up as like a historic, like, trying to delete stuff that was on the internet that you did, I think is so lame.
But 2022, there was a lot of that going on. So that's how I first came across Ethan Klein. So Peterson responded to Klein and he said, "You will be held to higher and soon impossible to maintain ethical standards by the very mob that you currently wish to please. Then you will make a mistake and they will devour you with glee. Please take this warning seriously. I liked you." I would say this was prescient.
Yeah.
Yes. Peterson also said, "Also, I should warn you that those who engage in cancel culture generally live to regret it. I'm not going to come after you, except politely, in this Twitter stream, but the chickens will definitely come home to roost."
Damn.
He sounds so sensible and reasonable and kind in those tweets.
It's like someone's cursing you, basically.
Yeah.
But gently.
Yeah. So Peterson, as you will hear, was correct. And quickly after this exchange went viral, rival YouTuber Keemstar, so he's a right-winger, he posted compilation footage of Klein saying the faggot slur and the N-word dozens of times. This was clearly posted in an attempt to cancel Ethan Klein, but as everyone knows, you can only be canceled by your own side, and so that attempt failed. There have been many other controversies over the years, including a years-long feud with the YouTuber Trisha Paytas. We aren't even going to get into that here. Let's just say Ethan Klein may be heterosexual, but he is a queen. Now, politically, Hasan Piker and Ethan Klein are both on the left, but they are different shades of left. So again, Hasan is a communist apologist who thinks Ukrainians should stop whining and be Russian already, while Ethan Klein is a self-described social democrat with pretty unremarkable views. There are also some religious differences between the two. So Hasan is Muslim, although obviously non-practicing. Ethan Klein, as his name suggests, is Jewish. In fact, he has dual citizenship with the US and Israel. He lived in Israel for 5 years, and he actually met his wife Ela on a birthright trip. And she, like most Israelis, served in the IDF. But despite these differences between Piker and Klein, the two of them came together to make a kind of YouTube streaming version of a buddy comedy, like a 21st century version of Dumb and Dumber, but somehow dumber. So they started working together in September 2021 on a YouTube show and podcast called The Leftovers. Have you seen it, Jesse?
I think I've seen clips over the years, but what were they doing on that? Like, what was it like?
Standard owning the right content, mostly. Lots of reaction vids. So let's watch a clip. This is Hasan and Ethan reacting to GOP campaign ads.
Right, every political ad is exactly the same. So here's these guys trying to sell themselves as good old salt of the earth Americans. These are all conservatives, obviously.
Yeah, including Joe Manchin in the bottom left there.
Oh, is that?
I mean, he's a conservative.
Yeah, he is.
America has some big problems.
This motherfucker's holding a pig in his hand.
I love that, dude. I love that.
That dude is walking with a piggy. Come on now, down here. I can't get over this dude holding a piggy.
Big Dan Rodimer for Congress.
I'm about to eat this pig whole, boy.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. That's a cute ass pig, though. Dude,
That is
goddamn,
cute.
pigs are so cute when they're little babies and they become like giant monsters.
This is sort of like Successor. It's like a Jon Stewart style comedy almost.
Yeah, so it's largely shit like that, but they did occasionally argue. This happens. No podcast partnership is without the occasional debate about how much more Jesse should be doing. But even though they sometimes disagreed, they seemed like they were genuinely friends and they could disagree with each other without blowing up. So here's an example of that.
Tibet was literally a fucking feudal slave mandate, like
So
autonomous zone.
China did them a favor.
That was one. I mean, in America, when I say something like this, people get very upset. You know, we talk about the Dalai Lama saying "suck my tongue" or whatever, but like that's not far from the norm in fucking normal Tibetan existence before the Communist Party came in and
So China unilaterally took over Tibet,
like
squelched
these are
their culture. They basically are trying to, homogenize the culture.
If your culture,
they're trying to squelch the religion and the identity.
The part of feudal warlords and slavery, abolishing that, yes, I do think that is good.
No, China did them a favor.
I mean, this is a common dynamic. Because I'm usually like.
Are you Ethan or are you Hasan?
I'm obviously Ethan. There's like a guy who is much saner and less of a moron and not a revolutionary idiot, and then there's like a much more sort of like masculine camera. Oh, dude, it's good. Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, this is how it works. This is how we got where we are.
Except that I'm more of a capitalist than you.
Are you? I don't know.
You pay extra in taxes, which is actually true because you always pay yours late.
It just makes me lazy.
Okay, so I do love that Piker is in favor of imperialism when it's brown people doing it.
Yellow people.
Offensive, Jesse, offensive. Okay, so they had some good-natured disagreement and debate, but they maintained this show for 2 years. And then October 7th happened. Remember, Ethan has Israeli citizenship. Piker is vehemently pro-Palestinian. And at first they seemed kind of on the same page. Like they had discussed Israel-Palestine before. And even where they disagreed, they'd been respectful of each other. So like Hasan Piker did a fundraiser for Gaza. Ethan donated $6,500. But things were tense. Hasan either couldn't or wouldn't moderate his chat. Ethan was getting more and more frustrated. The tics were coming out. And then 2 weeks after the attacks, the host dedicated a full episode to the situation. So let's watch the top of that.
In actuality, we're going to be discussing the conflict between Israel and Gaza that's happening right now. Obviously, there's been a lot of emotional, charged stuff going on. But we're going to discuss everything. But I do want to make something very clear at the top of the show here, is that I've seen a lot of people expecting us to come froth and argue and our friendship is going to end and the show is going to end or something like that. And I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but that's definitely not what we're planning on doing here. It's not going to happen.
Jesse, you will be shocked to learn this was the final episode of The Leftovers.
Yeah. You should never say this won't be the last.
So the entire debate is nearly 4 hours long. And at the beginning, they talked about how the point of the show was to have these amicable conversations about difficult topics. And it started out okay. So Klein lays out his position on Israel, which is that Netanyahu is a war criminal. The right-wing Israeli coalition is hell-bent on genocide. They've committed war crimes in Gaza. It's barbaric. It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. He says all that. He gets choked up when talking about seeing a video of a Palestinian father holding his dead infant. Like, he cries. It's actually touching. And he comes across, to me, as very sincere. And it's very clear he does not support the Israeli government. So the two are in agreement about this. And on the whole, they actually agree a lot in that episode. Yeah, Hasan is more tolerant of Hamasniks than Klein is. That's to be expected. And at one point, he refers to baby settlers. That was weird.
Right. Yeah, that was not great.
And they argue over some particulars, but considering that this was the last ever episode of the podcast and the end of their collaboration and the start of their war with each other, I was actually surprised when I watched this how copacetic it was. So it ended with Klein saying Piker had genuinely moved him on some issues. They seemed to be in the same place. But shortly afterwards, they announced that the show is going on hiatus. And that hiatus, now over 2 years later, has not ended. And I'm starting to think, Jesse, that it won't.
It sounds like this was a pretty serious fight from two guys who were maybe a little bit mismatched from the start.
Yes. So, Jesse, we're going to pause this for today. We're running out of time. But we forgot to do housekeeping. You want to skip it for once, just as a treat?
Yeah, let's see what happens if we skip it.
Okay, but I do have to mention something.
Go for it.
Personals are back.
Okay. How do people submit them? Or do you want to just leave it?
This is a perk.
We'll leave a series of breadcrumbs across the internet. Good luck figuring out how to submit a personal.
No. This is our annual low-effort matchmaking service. This is a perk for primos. You can submit a personal ad through a look at our Substack page, blockedandreported.org. If you are a primo, you will have access to this. You can submit your personal ad. Shocked to report, these personals have, in one case, resulted in a literal legal marriage.
Wait, but how do you actually submit it? I forget, do we have an email address? Are you about to give that?
No, we don't have an email address. I did it as a Google form. Way easier. So if you go to the Substack page, blockedandreported.org.
Why don't you just include a link to the Google form in the show notes?
No, because it's for primos only.
Okay.
So it's got to be paywalled. So here's what I do. I will link to the page that links to the page with the paywall that has the Google form so you can submit your personal ads. Does that make sense? We're all on the same page here?
No. So on the right side of blockedandreported.org, there's a thing called useful links. And Katie, once you build that page, I will add it to useful links.
It's already built.
Okay, well, send me the link. I'll add it to useful links right now.
Do you not get our emails?
No. Personals. Wait, let's see if I got the email. January 6th, introducing the book club plus personals are back, babe.
You get the emails. Okay, so you have the link.
I'm going to put personals in the, oh wait, but we only have.
Let's just pin it to the top of the page. It will be pinned to our blockedandreported.org. How's that?
Yes. Okay, wait, this was, okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
So if you want to submit your personal, look for the page on our website that says personals are back. The other announcement is, yes, the book club is meeting. We have a date. This is February 22nd. It's a Sunday. The book is Laura Delano's Unshrunk. She's going to be joining us for a Substack Live. We're going to discuss the book. You'll be able to ask questions. This is an experiment pilot program. We'll see how it goes. These are just a couple of the perks for our primos. We're doing housekeeping. And if you want to join one and get a fuck ton of extra content, including the next episode of the Hasan Piker, Ethan Klein saga, because this one is going to be, part 2 is going for just for primos, please join us. It is the best way to support the show, and we need your support. I need your support.
We all do. Well, thank you for that, Katie. This has been Blocked and Reported. As always, we are produced with help from Jessica the 80s baby, and join us for the second half of the Ethan Hasan saga.
But you're going to have to pay for it. It'll be out tomorrow.
You're going to have to pay for it. It'll be out tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.